Hey, what's up guys? In this video, I make a tailor's clapper. Now don't feel bad if you don't know what a tailor's clapper is, because I didn't know either until a few days ago. The story goes like this. My mother-in-law, who's a big quilter, texted me a couple days ago and gave me an idea for something that I can make. That being a tailor's clapper. Now, what is a tailor's clapper exactly? Well, I had to consult Google because I'm no expert on this subject, and what I found out is that this was a tool that was made about 120 years ago in England by a tailor, and the point of it was to basically help get those nice flat edges when sewing or ironing a seam. How it works is basically you typically take a piece of hardwood, this is a piece of oak, and when you're ironing, this actually helps absorb a lot of the steam. The wood itself will actually absorb a lot of the steam rather than releasing it into the air like normal. And that also traps a lot of the heat and the steam into the fabric as well, so that when you clap it, you get a nice flat seam. And this is a great tool that a lot of quilters or people that sew are able to use. Now, this was a pretty simple build. I just made it out of one piece of oak scrap that I had lying around, and it doesn't have any finish on it. I've just rounded over the edges. I did make some finger holds here, so not too difficult, pretty easy to make. So if you have a person that sews or a quilter in your life and you're interested in how you can make something like this for them, then stick around and watch the video and see how I made it. Alright, so my first step for this build was to find a piece of scrap wood that I could use to make this tailor's clapper out of. Now, through my research, I had found that most tailor's clappers are about 12 inches long by 3 inches wide by 1.5 inches thick. And I just recently done a table where I had some 2-inch stock left over, so I was able to use that to make this tailor's clapper out of. After running the board through my joiner several times to get that nice square edge, I then took it over to the table saw and ripped it down to its final width of 3 inches. To cut the grooves for the finger holds, I'm using a bowl and tray bit in my plunge router. Now, I needed to be able to run my router along some sort of straight edge, so in order to do this, I took 2 parallel clamps that I had with some scrap 2x4s, and I created a jig that I could use as a straight edge to run my router along. Because this was such a narrow piece and rounded on both edges, I wanted to measure and mark a line to make sure that when routing I did not go past that line. Once you started to get too close to the edges, the router would start to rock and lose stability, so I wanted to make sure to give myself a visual representation of where to stop. I then took a measurement between the two lines so that I could make sure I got an exact match on the other side. Then it was time to set the depth of my plunge router. Now I did this all in one pass, but it did cause a little bit of burning, and I think maybe if I had to do it again, I would probably just do it in multiple passes. Once I had a groove fully routed out on one side, I flipped it over and did the exact same thing on the other side. I then used a 1/8 inch roundover bit on my palm router to round over all the sharp edges. The final step for this build was to sand everything until it was smooth. I did my best to sand off all of the burn marks that the router caused, but I wasn't able to get all of it, unfortunately. After lots of hand sanding, I then switched over to my random orbital sander and finished off sanding the piece up to 220 grit. Now when I was originally researching a Tailor's clapper, I discovered that you don't want to put any stain or finish on it because you don't want any of that finish to transfer over to the fabric that you're using. So I made sure to leave this wood completely raw. And there you have it, folks. In just a few short hours, I was able to build something that a few hours prior to that I had never heard of before. After just a little bit of time and research, I was able to make this amazing tool that I know my mother-in-law is going to put to good use. This was such a fun little build for me. I love challenging myself to build new things or things that I've never tried before. So this was a great way to be able to do that, and I look forward to challenging myself on the next build. And that's going to wrap up this video, guys. I appreciate you watching. If this video helped inspire you to go build something like this, then feel free to hit that like button, subscribe for future videos, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.